Well, we're on our last component of Genesis 1 through 11 in terms of the campfire stories. The creation story is a story of humankind represented in Cain and Abel, the story of the flood, and now the story of the building of the tower. I shared in a previous presentation that a Jewish rabbi shared with me an alternative title for the first 5 books of the library, commonly known as the books of the law or the Torah. He suggested that a more accurate title are the books of instruction. And the story of the building of the tower, the last campfire story, is a wonderful illustration of the intent of teaching, of instruction. To teach the young about a cornerstone which will give strength to the structure of human culture as well as to their individual lives. Now, in this story, all of humankind is represented in a single clan, wandering aimlessly through history. They decided to take it in their own hands, to determine their own destiny, their own security, their own place in history. They decided to build themselves a tower to guarantee control over their chosen place. They will build for themselves an imperishable city and an indestructible name for themselves. In the story, Yahweh was ignored. Remember that in every other story? Remember the story in the Garden of Eden? Ignored God. Remember the story before the flood? Ignored God. Made a mess of things. Indeed, in the story, the spiritual dimension of humankind in every story, Imago Dei, was denied and ignored. Now, you just heard the thunder, and when we're recording this, we're thinking we're going to have a flood of 40 days and 40 nights. So if you didn't take Genesis seriously, you ought to be as you're listening to this. But it's thundering outside right now. But in the story where the spiritual dimension of humankind, Imago Dei, created in the image of God, it was ignored. And the end result of this act of ignoring, which is what ignorance is all about. You know, ignorance is just the act of ignoring, same root word, is that the spiritual dimension of human existence is given to men and given to women without any awareness that the ultimate security is anchored in the divine. So all of a sudden, humankind takes upon themselves what belonged to the divine and said, we're in charge of it all. We can do it ourselves. Let's build the city. Let's build the tower. And the key to unlock the instruction in this story is the statement, let us make a name for ourselves. Ooh, that sort of sounds common, doesn't it? Genesis 11. 1 to 4. Now the whole earth had one language and just a few words. And as men migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. And then they said, come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens. and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Yep, let's make a name for ourselves. Pride is the name of the game in building the tower. Indeed, pride is the champion of the 7 deadly sins. In the history of the Hebrew people, pride in kingship, pride in nationhood, pride in the temple led the Hebrews to ignoring Yahweh. This was the theme of the Hebrew preachers for 800 years. And Jesus picked up the message of the prophets as he targeted the sin of pride in the hypocrites who pretended to be who they were not. Prideful actors, pretenders, those who wore a mask. Since the revelation of God in Jesus, the followers of Jesus have continually been tripped up by pride. Yeah, making a name for themselves. Nations throughout history have often been attacked at their places of pride. 9/11 wasn't that long ago. Where was the U.S. targeted? The Twin Towers, the tallest buildings representing the financial empire. The Pentagon representing the epitome of military domination in the world. And the Capitol, viewed by many in the world as the capital of the ugly American culture. You see, making a name for oneself or for one's culture or for one's nation is the ultimate act of pride, which is ignoring that ultimate security is the love of God, not making a name for ourselves. You see, the instruction is clear. As a cornerstone of the best of the Judeo-Christian heritage, and the cornerstone of the very best of humankind, is the cornerstone of the truth that pride is the ultimate denial of Imago Dei, the spiritual dimension of human existence. Again, let me repeat. Pride is the ultimate denial of Imago Dei, the spiritual dimension of human existence. Pride will trip us up every time. That's quite a cornerstone. Let's think about it with these questions. Number one, what are the common expressions of pride in everyday life? That is, doing something to make a name for ourselves. Secondly, What are the cultural towers of pride throughout our world today? Thirdly, what are the religious towers of pride throughout the world today? We'll look forward to Sunday.